Hey, we got Sophie the Trophy, one half of the Blonde Bombers, coming out and exposing her truth with this Bria Hartley situation, and she's also letting it be known the behind the scenes and what's really going on with Caitlin Clark's injury.
Sophie Cunningham just said the quiet part out loud, and the entire world of basketball is holding its breath. It wasn't about a bad call or a hard foul. It was a casual, offhand comment that hinted at something far bigger, something that would send a shockwave through the entire WNBA. She basically suggested the league's brightest star, the one player responsible for its insane growth, might be one step away from walking away from it all. That's right. We're talking about the very real possibility that Caitlin Clark could quit, not in a few years. Maybe now. This isn't just drama. This is a warning sign of a league on the verge of fumbling its biggest opportunity ever. And if you think that an overreaction, you haven't been paying attention. Stick around, because what we're about to break down will change how you see the WNBA forever. And make sure you're subscribed for more deep dives into the stories everyone is scared to talk about.
Caitlin close. How's she coming along?
Dude, I don't know. Everyone keeps asking, everyone's like, and I'm like, literally, she doesn't even know. Like, it's just like a day by day legit type of thing. And so, yeah, she's close, but like, you also have to remember, like, she could be playing if it wasn't in the WNBA by now, but like at this level, with how deep and like how good people are nowadays in our league, which is the best it's ever been, like you can't just be good. You have to be on top of your game. And so just trying to get her back in game shape, I think, is what they're trying to do. But like, again, it's literally a day by day. I'm not holding out any information. I just literally.
For months, we've all watched the same story play out on repeat. Caitlin Clark steps on the court, and it's like a target gets painted on her back. The hard fouls aren't just occasional. They're a strategy. The elbows, the shoves, the tackles that look like they belong on a football field. It's all become weirdly normal. We've moved beyond simple competitive physicality into a territory that feels intentional. A war of attrition designed to slow her down by any means necessary. And through it all, the league's response has been confusing and painfully slow. Fines get handed out inconsistently, often feeling more like a reaction to public outcry than a genuine policy to protect players. The refereeing seems to change from game to game, with no clear standard for what constitutes a dangerous play. They'll punish someone like Sophie Cunningham for speaking a hard truth, but they won't consistently protect their golden goose from getting mauled on the court. It's created this toxic environment where it feels like open season on Caitlin Clark. The message, whether intentional or not, is clear. You can handle her however you want, and the consequences will be minimal. They've turned their most marketable superstar into a punching bag, and then they want to act surprised when the idea of her leaving starts to creep into the conversation. This isn't just about basketball anymore. It's about a fundamental failure to safeguard an athlete who is the key to the league's financial and popular resurgence.
Yeah, and she also would be able to play if this was not sumo wrestling, if this was not UFC, if you guys did not play rugby in these basketball games, she'd probably be able to get out there and do her thing. But she has to put on all this armor, which caused her to get hurt anyway. She had to put on all this armor because y'all don't play basketball. It is rugby out there.
The perception is that the very organization that should be her biggest offender is instead a passive observer to her weekly struggle, which brings us to the current moment. And the thing that has everyone so worried, the injury. Right now, everything about Caitlin Clark's status is shrouded in this vague, mysterious cloud. The official line is always the same. Day by day, she's questionable. She's evaluating. But for fans, that language is a major red flag, a familiar script that often precedes a much longer, more serious absence. It breeds speculation and concern, making people wonder what's really going on behind scenes. And then Sophie Cunningham, her own colleague, essentially confirmed the worst fears. She said nobody really knows what's going on, not even Caitlin herself, that it's literally a day-by-day thing, which sounds less like a medical diagnosis and more like a holding pattern. But then she dropped the real bomb, the comment that shifted the entire narrative. She said the quiet part out loud, that Caitlin Clark would probably already be playing if this wasn't the WNBA. Let that sink in for a second. In any other league, under any other circumstances, with a different level of physical play, she'd likely be suited up and healthy. But the sheer level of intensity and brutality she uniquely faces in this league is what's keeping her off the floor.
Look, listen, Sophie, I love you trying to hold it down. We love that you were trying to hold it down. We wish you a speedy recovery. But as far as what's going on in the WNBA, we are on them. We gonna stay on them. It's not gonna change. It's not going to change. We're on to their nonsense.
It's not just an injury. It's a symptom of a much larger disease within the WNBA, a culture that allowed the situation to fester until it sidelined its biggest star. That one comment from Cunningham ripped the lid off a pressure cooker that's been building for 2 years. Because it's not just about the physical toll. It's about the glaring, obvious, and frustrating double standard that everyone sees but the league refuses to fix. Look at how other top picks are treated. Look at Paige Buchers. Now, let's be clear. Paige is an incredible talent, a generational player in her own right, but the whistles she gets are on another level. Players themselves talk about it in not so subtle ways. You literally can't touch her without a foul being called. She operates with a protective shield from the referees that every franchise player deserves and needs to thrive. But then you have Caitlin Clark, who navigates a completely different reality. She gets hacked, held, and knocked the floor on plays that would be instant fouls for others, and often has to fight and plead just to get a common foul call. And if she dares complain or show a flicker of frustration, she gets hit with a technical.
I love Paige to death. Do not get me wrong. I think, I think she's a hell of a player and, would love to play with her one day. But those refs were giving her every freaking whistle last night. You literally couldn't touch her. And that shit is so annoying to me.
The same league office that's quick to fine Sophie Cunningham for pointing out this blatant favoritism does nothing to stop other players from openly making accusations about referee bias. The hypocrisy is absolutely staggering. They've created a two-tiered system where Caitlin Clark is held to a different, harsher standard than everyone else, and for fans and commentators alike. It's absolutely exhausting to watch. So if you're Caitlin Clark, why would you put up with this? Why would you risk your long-term health and peace of mind for a league that seems reluctant to have your back? This is where the conversation gets real. She doesn't need the WNBA, not even a little bit. Her options are massive, and the first one on the list is Europe. This isn't some crazy theory. It's a well-traveled path for countless professional women's basketball players seeking what they can't get at home. They go overseas in the off-season and often full-time because the money is significantly better, often doubling or tripling a WNBA salary. The contracts are larger, the respect from organizations is often greater. And believe it or not, many players report that the refereeing is actually more consistent and the style of play, while still physical, is less recklessly dangerous and more focused on skill. Caitlin Clark could sign a contract tomorrow with a top team in Turkey or Spain and instantly become the highest paid women's basketball player on the planet. She'd be treated like absolute royalty, play a shorter and less grueling season, and focus purely on basketball without the constant sideshow and the draining cross-country travel schedule of the WNBA. Her legions of fans would absolutely follow her. They buy the international streams, watch her games at all hours, and support her just as much, if not more. The WNBA would be left in the dust, completely exposed for driving away their number one attraction through sheer negligence. But basketball isn't even her only option. This is the part that should truly terrify the WNBA headquarters. Caitlin Clark is more than a basketball player. She's a global brand. She's got deals with Nike, State Farm, Gatorade. She's a crossover superstar, and she's already hinted at another passion, golf. What if she decided to shift sports entirely? It sounds wild, but think about it. She's incredibly competitive, immensely popular, and has the focus to excel at an individual sport. She wouldn't need to be the best golfer in the world to be the most famous one. The sponsorship money would still be there. The media opportunities would be endless. The landscape of professional athletics has completely changed. Today, influence and marketability can often outweigh pure competitive dominance, especially in a sport like golf that thrives on personality and star power. Imagine Caitlin Clark stepping onto the green. The buzz would be instantaneous. Every major tournament would be begging for her to receive a sponsor's exemption. Networks would clamor to have her in the booth for commentary, offering insights that blend elite athletic experience with a fresh perspective. She could headline celebrity pro-am tournaments, becoming the main attraction, and drawing a completely new, younger audience to the sport. Her social media channels, already massive, will become the epicenter of a new movement, documenting her journey from the hardwood to the fairway. This wouldn't be a retirement, it would be a reinvention. She could build a massive lifestyle brand centered on wellness, competition, and access. The constant, grinding physical punishment would vanish, replaced by the strategic and mental challenge of golf. There would be no more concerns about dangerous fouls or questionable officiating, no more recovery from bruises earned under the basket. Instead, She would compete on her own terms, focusing on mastering a new craft while maintaining, and likely growing, her immense commercial value. She would have control over her schedule, her body, and her narrative. The league is playing with fire, because if they push her too far, she has a very comfortable, very lucrative, and significantly safer life waiting for her beyond the basketball court. The choice isn't just between leagues, it's between entirely different lifestyles, and one offers a peace of mind the WNBA currently refuses to provide. Now, let's talk about the aftermath. Let's talk about what happens if the unthinkable becomes reality, and Caitlin Clark actually decides she's done. The so-called Caitlin Clark effect isn't a myth, it's a statistical fact. Arenas that were half empty for years are now selling out every single night, and it's not because of anyone else. Television ratings have shattered records whenever she plays. Merchandise sales, especially her own jerseys, have gone through the roof, boosting revenue for the entire league. She didn't just bring in old fans. She brought in an entire new audience of casual fans, young kids, and families who had never watched a WNBA game before. She didn't just move the needle. She created a whole new dial. If she leaves, all of that doesn't just decline. It vanishes. Overnight, the league would instantly revert to what was before she arrived, but in a much more damning and embarrassing light. They wouldn't just be scrambling for airtime. They'd be explaining to ESPN and ABC why the historic ratings they promised have plummeted back to baseline. They wouldn't just be begging for sponsors. They'd be in boardrooms trying to justify why a marketing partnership is still valuable after losing their single biggest draw. The narrative would shift from explosive growth to a catastrophic collapse. The most immediate and visible impact would be in the stands. Those sold-out arenas on the road, the ones filled with young girls wearing number 22 jerseys, would disappear. Teams would go back to playing in front of sparse, quiet crowds. An electric atmosphere that defined this era will become a fleeting memory. The players who may have privately resented her spotlight, the ones who felt the league's promotion of her came at their expense, would get their wish. They would suddenly find themselves back in the relative anonymity they had before, but with a crucial difference. They would also face a sharp decline in revenue and visibility. The rising tide that lifted all boats would recede, leaving everyone stranded. The financial ramifications would be severe and swift. The league's upcoming media rights negotiation, which was poised to be a landmark deal fueled by Clarkmania, will become infinitely more difficult. Networks would be far less willing to pay a premium for a product that just lost its main event. Sponsorship deals tied to league-wide visibility would be reconsidered or reduced. The increased revenue sharing that players fought for and won would be under threat, as the pie would suddenly be much, much smaller. The very economic stability that the league has been building toward would be jeopardized, but perhaps the most damaging loss would be cultural. The WNBA would forever be known as a league that had a once-in-a-lifetime star, a player who transcended the sport and captured the world's attention, and they failed to protect her. It would become a cautionary tale in sports management textbooks. The story wouldn't be about her greatness. It would be about their catastrophic failure. The trust from a new generation of fans would be broken. They would feel that the league they invested in emotionally failed its hero, and many would simply disengage. The moment in the sun wouldn't just be over. It would be remembered as a missed opportunity of historic proportions, a self-inflicted wound from which the league might never fully recover. The legacy wouldn't be one of growth, but of a spectacular and entirely preventable unraveling. So where does that leave us? Sophie Cunningham's comments weren't just gossip. They were a flare shot into the sky, illuminating a crisis everyone knew was coming. The vague injuries, the inconsistent fines, the brutal fouls, and the deafening silence from the league on fixing any of it, it all points to one inevitable conclusion. Caitlin Clark is being pushed toward the exit. The real question isn't if she'll get fed up, but when. We're at a genuine crossroads for the entire sport. This is more than just a contract negotiation or a simple career move. It's a referendum on the WNBA's ability to evolve and truly support its superstars. For decades, the league fought for recognition and a seat at the table. Now, they've been handed the keys to the mainstream, and they're risking it all by refusing to fix the glaring problems happening right on their court. Will Caitlin stick it out, grit her teeth through another season of punishment, and hope the league office finally has a moment of clarity and steps in to protect its players equally? Will she make the pragmatic choice and take her talents to Europe, where she can enjoy the game she loves in an environment that offers both respect and remarkable financial reward, becoming a global ambassador for basketball abroad? Or will she make the most shocking move of all and leave sports altogether, trading the chaos of court for the calm of the golf course, and in doing so, become a different kind of pioneer for athlete brand building and career freedom? The power is undeniably in her hands, and the WNBA is on the clock. They are risking their entire future growth, their financial stability, and their cultural relevance for what? To prove a point? To maintain a stubborn status quo? It's shaping up to be the greatest cell phone in modern sport history. Her decision will send a message that will echo for years. Will it be a message of resilience? Or a message that the league's failures were too great to overlook? This is a conversation that defines an era. Let me know what you think in the comments below. What would you do in her position? Do you believe Caitlin Clark should stay and fight for change? Or would you absolutely support her if she chose to walk away and prioritize her health and happiness? If this deep dive pulled everything together for you and revealed the high-stakes game being played, hit that like button. Let's get this video into the algorithm to spread this discussion. Share this video with a fan who needs to see the big picture, and subscribe to stay on top of every twist and turn in this unfolding story. Thanks for watching.